Okay, today we are diving straight into a fascinating royal report that has literally everyone talking. Prince Harry might actually be sleeping inside Buckingham Palace again. You heard that right. According to new reports, when the Duke of Sussex returns to the United Kingdom this September, King Charles may officially offer his younger son a room at the palace. Now, at first glance, you might think, well, that's just a simple practical accommodation setup. But inside the British royal family, and especially given everything that's happened over the last few years, a room at Buckingham Palace, that can carry a much, much bigger meaning. So let's dive into this and unpack exactly what's going on. So we have to ask the big question right out of the gate. Is this just a room, or are we looking at a royal reunion? We know Prince Harry is expected to return to the UK in September for engagements connected to the annual WellChild Awards. But given his current status, where he stays during these visits has become a huge focal point. Is this reported accommodation simply a practical offer for a visiting son? Or is this a massive, symbolic gesture from the king? Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we really need to set the record straight on what we actually know. Take a look at the phrasing here. Notice the massive difference between King Charles will give Harry a room and reports say King Charles may offer Harry a room. That distinction is absolutely crucial. We are looking strictly at media reports right now. People magazine actually noted that the Sun was behind the initial claim, and crucially, neither Buckingham Palace nor Harry's representatives have commented. There's no official palace statement. We are just impartially looking at a reported development. But, even as an unconfirmed report, the immense interest this has generated tells us a whole lot about the current state of the royal family. To understand why this report is blowing up the headlines right now, we really have to look at the momentum building on this timeline. Let's go back to 2022. That was Charles's last in-person meeting with Harry's children, Archie and Lilibet. Fast forward to just weeks ago this summer, and Harry, Meghan, and the kids had a completely private reunion with King Charles and Queen Camilla at Highgrove. No official photographs, no big public ceremonies, just a totally private family gathering. So now, as we look ahead to September, this expected UK return and the reported palace room offer, well, it looks like a very logical continuation of that renewed contact. Which brings us to Section 1, the core motivation, why Charles wants Harry home. To truly grasp the weight of this report, we kind of have to peel back the palace gates and look at a father making space for his son. When we ask why Charles wants Harry home so much, we have to remember that behind all the titles and the crowns, Charles is operating as a dad. Rebuilding a family relationship after years of incredibly public conflict, that isn't something that just happens overnight. It happens through small, very deliberate steps. And this reported offer is exactly that. It's a father reaching out, trying to make physical and emotional space for his son in his life again. So what does this motivation actually look like in practice? Well, it's about reconnecting with Archie and Lilibet. For years, Charles was missing that physical connection with his grandchildren. That recent Highgrove visit completely changed that. It's also about moving past those rigid, highly choreographed official ceremonies and just focusing on private family gatherings. If this palace room offer is genuine, it's the next small, deliberate step in continuing that renewed family contact. The king's core motivation here seems deeply rooted in simply wanting a better, closer relationship with his younger son and his grandkids. But of course, there's always a twist. Section 2. The heir's perspective. The Prince William complication. Because in the royal family, nothing is ever perfectly simple, is it? We have a fascinating contrast in how Charles and William view this whole situation. On one hand, Charles's view is deeply personal. It's all about the father-son relationship and getting to see his grandchildren. But William's view? It's entirely different. William is not just a brother, he's the future king. So his perspective involves really heavy questions of trust, the future of the monarchy itself, public perception, and maintaining strict family boundaries. Recent reporting actually continues to describe the brothers as completely estranged, with commentators suggesting William remains very wary. The crucial point to take away here is this. A father opening a door to his son does not automatically mean a brother is going to do the same. They are looking at this through completely different lenses. All right, let's move on to Section 3. Myth versus fact. Symbolism versus reality. Because Buckingham Palace isn't just some hotel, right? It's literally one of the most recognizable symbols of the British monarchy. So we really need to separate what this offer actually means from all the wild speculation out there. Let's rapid fire through what this reported offer does not mean. If Harry stays at Buckingham Palace, it is not a sign that he's returning to working royal duties. He and Meghan have clearly established an independent life in the United States.
It definitely does not mean they are moving back to Britain, and it absolutely is not proof that the family conflict is entirely over. We just can't draw those massive conclusions simply from an accommodation report. We have to keep our focus grounded on the personal father-son relationship.
But let's play this out for a second. What if Harry actually accepts? Just imagine the enormous visual impact of that. During his previous UK visit, he didn't stay at a royal residence, and honestly, that generated a ton of media attention on its own. If he accepts this time around, imagine Harry, a non-working royal, entering the exact same palace associated with the monarchy, being put up inside the monarch's official London residence. That image alone would absolutely dominate royal coverage. It would send a really powerful visual message that he's being welcomed back into the royal fold on a personal level, and that his relationship with his father has improved considerably. Now, on the flip side, what if Harry declines? Because it's entirely possible he might choose not to accept the reported offer. And if he does decline, we shouldn't immediately assume the absolute worst. Declining might simply be a practical decision. Maybe he prefers private accommodation for really strict security or privacy reasons. It could have absolutely nothing to do with family tensions. But honestly, the mere existence of the reported offer is what's so fascinating here, because it shows that royal accommodation was even on the table to begin with. Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, the 2 speeds of reconciliation, the next royal chapter.
This is probably the most important thing to take away from this entire explainer. The royal family is actually dealing with 2 totally separate relationship stories simultaneously. On one track, you've got Harry and Charles. That relationship really appears to be entering a potentially warmer phase. Charles is willing to rebuild, and Harry seems willing to engage. But then, on the other track, you have Harry and William. That relationship remains highly uncertain and completely unresolved. William might just need a lot more time, assuming reconciliation is even on the table for him at all. These 2 dynamics are moving at completely different speeds as we look toward September.
Which obviously brings us to the biggest unresolved question surrounding this upcoming UK visit. Will Harry and William finally come face to face? Think about it. If Harry is staying at Buckingham Palace, does that close proximity make a meeting with William more likely? Or does the palace offer simply allow Harry to be closer to his dad, while very carefully keeping the brothers apart? Even if Charles and Harry is slowly mending fences, this brotherly divide remains the massive elephant in the room. And of course, we can't forget about the rest of the family. Could Meghan and the children join him? The current accommodation story specifically concerns Harry's solo visit for the WellChild Awards. But given that recent, highly successful Highgrove reunion, where Charles finally got to spend time with Archie and Lilibet, the door feels, well, slightly more open. If the kids return to Britain again, this isn't just a story about Harry and Charles anymore. It becomes a much, much bigger story about rebuilding relationships across an entirely new generation. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Is this reported room offer the first real step to a broader family peace? Obviously, it doesn't erase the past, and it certainly doesn't confirm a return to royal duties. But it definitely suggests that the door between Harry and his father is more open now than it has been in years. Will September be the month the royal family takes another definitive step toward reconciliation? We're just going to have to watch very closely to find out. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time as we break down the facts slide by slide.